Even though you missed out on one react, there's going to be one more. This video right here by Hammerdance. And just by looking at the thumbnail, I kind of can understand what this is about. It's a video titled "The idea of Classic Plus has gone way too far. This is not it" in brackets. The typical OG YouTuber title, by the way. In brackets as well. Damn. And thumbnail, "This is not Classic Plus. Have they gone too far?" Let's check it out, shall we?
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel like I just need to say at this point. I think it's gone a little bit too far. So for anyone who, maybe has been living on...
Are we going to get another episode of the podcast with Ebonheart and Cargo? Really like the energy and the opposite views on things? I mean, hey, I'm down. I've already said to Ebonheart that I'm down to do just about any episode ever. So he just has to let me know when I'm down. I do think that the view Ebonheart had was to have different creators on every single time. But I also feel like maybe he should have a co-host, or it could be me, Ebonheart, and Cargo, and a third or a fourth person. Or even just like me and Ebonheart, or Ebonheart and Cargo, just two of the same people every single time, perhaps. I don't know, but I'm down at any point. Absolutely.
Under a rock, you know that for the past couple of months, World of Warcraft Classic private...
Yo, Power Kick, what's up, by the way? How you doing?
Servers, especially these Classic Plus servers, have been on the rise. We've seen some really good ones. We've seen some really poor done ones, right? And I'm just going to come out and say it, that the trailer for Warcraft Reborn, done by Ascension, came out a little over 24 hours ago, maybe 2 days ago at this point, and I watched it, and I want to start this off.
Is that the trailer he's playing in the background, by the way? I kind of want to see if it is. I think it is. I'm seeing an Undead Hunter there, so just based on that, I think it is, but we're gonna find out.
Off by saying I have a shitload of respect for the devs behind all these private servers. The shit that they pull off, man, everything that they're able to accomplish.
It is indeed. Just seeing the Wrath talents, I know it is. It has to be.
The world design, all this stuff really is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But after I watched the Warcraft Reborn official overview trailer, I just can't help but feel like we're at a point now where, like, people are looking at this and looking to this for Classic Plus, right? All these private servers, because that's all they have. That's all people can look to. We don't have an official Blizzard Classic Plus, and we probably won't for a really long time. We have so much coming for Classic WoW, right? We have the Nax phase and anniversary, then we're going through an entire TBC. We have Mists of Pandaria running, so the odds of us getting a Classic Plus anytime soon are way down. Way down. It ain't happening anytime soon.
It's maybe happening next year. Like, if I had to predict, by the way, I think it's happening next year in November. It's possibly, like, here's the thing, it's either next year in November, or it's February 2027. Like, February, March. But it could be November next year, who knows?
It's very far in advance. And I'm starting to feel like we're at a really, really rough point right now where, like, all of this Classic Plus private server stuff is coming out. And whether it's against TOS or not, whether it's copyright or not, people are playing on there. And the problem is these people are playing on there and Blizzard isn't responding with anything of equal value, or even something that's not even of equal.
No. You didn't even have to add the of equal value part. Blizzard is not responding. Blizzard is hiding their head in the sand, and if we keep asking them, like, if we drag their head up, they just run the other way. They are just actively running away from the audience right now. They're just peacing out, bro. Nowhere to be found.
Value, but like an official response to it in terms of, like, something people can play that do want a Classic Plus. And I've talked about this a million times before when I was saying that I feel like Blizzard really is dropping the ball here, and they should have just launched a Classic Plus and developed it as we went along, with small updates here and there. It could have just been vanilla WoW with maybe TBC talents or Wrath talents, whatever they want to do, and just every few months drop a new update, a new leveling zone, a new endgame raid, a new reputation, and all this stuff, and kind of develop it as we go along, just like Turtle WoW did. We all know that Turtle WoW is currently being sued by Blizzard. But either way, I don't want to go down that whole road. We've talked about that a million times. What this video is about is I want you all to understand that this is my personal opinion as well, right? Everyone is entitled to their opinions, and I'd like you to voice them in the comments below. But I watched the Warcraft Reborn official overview, the trailer that Ascension WoW put out. And Ascension WoW does great work. They have some really talented devs, and same with Turtle WoW and RIP Epoch. But either way, I just feel like watching that trailer, I was like, this is where it starts to get a little bit skewed. Because to me, a lot of the things that they talked about in that trailer, which I won't show the whole trailer here on the channel. You guys can go, watch it on your own time. It's on the Ascension YouTube.
Or you can watch it in the background behind him. Yeah.
It becomes a little bit too much. And when I say too much, let me elaborate. When I say it becomes too much, I mean there is this charm that Classic WoW has, right? And I think,
I know where he's going with this, by the way, and I know who he is appealing to with this as well. Like, he's obviously appealing to an audience here, right? And I'm just gonna say it. I'm going to hard disagree with what he is currently saying. And I know that's popular right now, that Solheim is disagreeing with everyone just to create drama and content, but I feel like they did a good job. They're taking a different direction with Classic Plus, which I personally love, because Classic Plus is different to a lot of people. If we simply got another Turtle clone, why would I play there? Why would anybody play there? It has to be different, and it has to be way different. If it's just another Turtle-ish server, then just why play? We already have Turtle. Literally. I love the fact that they're taking a whole different approach here, and maybe trying to appeal to a different audience as well. It's a different private server for a reason, right? And they're incorporating some of the old Ascension mechanics, which, number one, makes it easier for them to develop, but also gives them way more freedom, and also just makes the classes feel different. I think it's a good thing. Sure, to some people it might be taking Classic Plus too far. To me, I think it's perfect. I really do. I'm just gonna say, I think it's really cool. And I love that they're doing so much, because once again, it's a whole different vibe than Turtle is. Am I saying that I want this to be Classic Plus? Probably not. I would probably want it to be more Turtle-like. But for private servers, I think this is great. Just having two different options that are exactly that. Different options. I don't want to have two options that are the same. Like, if I'm going to the store right now, there's a reason why you have 100 different types of chocolate, and not just like clones. If every single type of chocolate was the same, why would you have like 100 different types? There's a reason why you have dark chocolate, milk chocolate, you have ones with caramel in them, strawberries, I don't know, like you have so many different types of candies. There's a reason why we have options. I like this. And I also think it's really cool, by the way.
That's what the game has going for it. It's simplicity. Its ability to kind of let you just play through the game how you want, and there's not an abundance of systems and overly complex mechanics and too much stuff going on to the point where it takes away from the world. And I think that is the charm that Classic WoW has. So, in my opinion, an official Classic Plus wouldn't be this over-the-top thing.
I wouldn't call it Classic Plus, in my opinion. It's something different, not saying it's bad, just that it shouldn't be called Classic Plus. Yeah, but in this case, like, until Blizzard gives us Classic Plus, nothing is Classic Plus. And Turtle WoW has never called itself Classic Plus, by the way. Turtle WoW has called itself Turtle WoW and Mysteries of Azeroth. Meanwhile, for Ascension, they're calling this Classic Plus, I think, in their title on YouTube that I watched yesterday. Let me just go back and see the reaction, because I think in the title of their video, they even said the Classic Plus. It's like, it's called something else, it's Warcraft Reborn, and the server was called Bronzebeard for a while, but in the title or the thumbnail, they used the word Classic Plus, I'm pretty sure. So the reason why we're calling it Classic Plus is because they are. I'm not saying that to me it's like the Classic Plus, absolutely not, but it's a word that they used. In which case they are trying to maybe appeal to the Classic Plus audience, which, I mean, once again, maybe it's not the right move, but also, I think Classic Plus is just different to different people. and I think it's good to have different approaches.
With a million different systems and enhancements and enchants and all this stuff, it would just be a version of Classic that kind of just emphasizes what already worked, what made the game special, the world, the leveling, the experience, the journey, the unknown, right? It's not about adding all these complex systems. It's not about adding a million different ways to play your class and all these type of things. Yes, there's definitely room for improvement when it comes to like class design and some of the systems, but there is such a thing as over the top. And in my opinion, personally, absolutely no disrespect to Ascension or Warcraft Reborn, but this is a little too over the top for me. And I think personally, if Blizzard were to look for a private server Classic Plus and base their official Classic Plus on that experience, in my opinion, it would be Turtle WoW, because the experience really stays true to vanilla. It really does give you that living, immersive world that everyone fell in love with, 20 plus years ago at this point. And they delivered on that in so many ways. And I think that, if Blizzard looks at these private servers for ideas or things to, basically copy and put in their own thing, let's be real, I just feel like some of them are too over the top. And I do personally think Warcraft Reborn is over the top. It to me feels like retail WoW just set in levels 1 through 60 Azeroth. And it's because there's just too many systems, right? Like we could look at the website, right? Let's pull up the website. There are some really cool things, right? Like the expanded open world. Obviously, that's awesome. Like why? Who wouldn't want to see that, right? This is cool stuff. Like expanding on the world. This is definitely something that, in my opinion, does fit in a Classic Plus. This should be the main emphasis of Classic Plus, expanding that world, making it bigger than we.
He's not wrong, the server is unhinged. I think he's not wrong, but at the same time he is wrong, in my opinion, because I feel like the server provides a different option, and it's not gonna be everyone's favorite option, but there's a reason why people are excited for it as well, and ignoring the people that are excited for it just to say like, Turtle WoW is better, is a very disingenuous comment for me to like even hear, or for me to see people say. It's kind of like being a Mist of Pandaria enjoyer and saying that Classic Plus should never happen because you're enjoying Mist of Pandaria. But I'm saying, like, these are private servers. Let them do their thing. And this is Ascension, so you have to realize that it's Ascension. No, not you in this case, but like people in general, they have to realize it's Ascension, and they are bringing Ascension systems into the server, because once again, it's Ascension. Of course they will do that. They're trying to get you into the whole Ascension ecosystem, but also their player base is used to the Ascension systems, right? So in that case, it just makes it more appealing to the audience they currently have, plus it brings new players into the whole Ascension thing. What's up, Solheim? Your chef. What's up, man? We're watching a couple of videos here. I just got done doing a 1 hour, 15-minute react, and this one is hopefully going to be a little bit shorter. Hopefully. It will be shorter. But what I was going to say is that I like the fact that we have 2 options, or I guess 3 options now. We have Epoch, Turtle, and this. And the thing is, I don't want Bronzebeard to be like Turtle at all. I think it's good to have options. If I want to play Turtle, I have Turtle. Why would I want to have Turtle 2? If I'm going to have Turtle 2, I want Turtle 2 to be made by the Turtle WoW dev team. Ascension should make Ascension. Having 2 options is great, and let those 2 options be different.
You all know, right? Like RPG creature overhaul, where like creatures have specific weaknesses and strengths and stats, right? So this mob has low armor, so you know that like physical damage is.
I want to check out Ascension, but it's against TOS to play on stream on Kick. Oh, a lot of people do it anyway, man. I've seen some partnered people play Turtle over here. Not gonna say who, but hey, people do it on Twitch as well. There's a couple of Twitch partners with a couple of 100 viewers streaming both Turtle and Epoch.
Gonna hit this thing harder, or like maybe fire mobs are weak to ice and stuff like that, kind of like a Pokemon style strength and weaknesses thing. Yeah, here you go, like a Voidcaster being weak to holy damage. I really like this. It adds to the RPG elements of the game. So stuff like this I think is great, and it does belong in a Classic Plus. But then there's other things, right? Like if we get down here to expanded classes, you have these things called like legendary mystic enchantments. And essentially what these are is runes that like empower your abilities. And this is where I think it gets, you know, a little bit too convoluted. It's way too far in my opinion. It starts to feel gimmicky, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It starts to feel very gimmicky. This is like, a lot of people thought SOD was very gimmicky and arcadey, and it was. It was a very arcadey and gimmicky version of Classic. It was an experimental server. It was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of bad things about it as well, right? But when you start to get into this territory, where like your class has now been completely redone, it has wrath talents, it has new abilities that have never been in the game before or whatever, then you're like scouring through the world, finding things that empower your abilities even further. This to me starts to feel very gimmicky. It starts to feel very like mobile gamey. It almost makes it feel like you're so disconnected from whatever's happening because you're just trying to find these enhancements and all this other stuff. And you're like, oh, cool, I'm in a group with this guy, but he found his legendary mystic enchantment, so I can't even compete on DPS with him because we're the same class and he has that and I don't. Like, it adds a little bit too much, in my opinion. Like a lot of the elements of like reworking the older items, right, to be better. You know, like looking down here, immersive gear drops. Creatures in Azeroth drop the actual gear that they're wearing, both in looks and with new RPG stats. Absolutely awesome thing, right? I think Blizzard should look at stuff like that and put it in Classic Plus. It would immerse you further into the game, because if mobs are dropping the items they're wearing, like, and they look like that, and they have stats kind of like that as well, that really does add to the immersion. I like that. Open world RPG items. You're finding RPG loot from Elden times, like rings, weapons, and armor scattered through Azeroth so you can power up while you're out in the open world. Very cool. Adds to the RPG element. But again, there is such a thing as over the top, and that's something that I think is really important when Blizzard is developing Classic Plus, if they're developing Classic.
Oh yeah, I feel like I agree with that, by the way. This server right here is over the top compared to, like, Blizzard Classic Plus should not be like this, but it's great for Ascension. I think it's really good, and they're targeting a different audience here than Turtle WoW is. You have to realize what this is, by the way. This is a private server competing against, for example, Turtle WoW, and they're not just trying to cannibalize Turtle WoW's player base here, because they probably enjoy a slower paced content cadence, and they enjoy vanilla WoW. They want the classes to feel like vanilla WoW. In this case, they're probably trying to target someone else, and I can think of somebody they might want to target. Season of Discovery enjoyers. And what are these mystic enchantments? They're basically runes. That is what they are. This to me looks like Season of Discovery on steroids. It's Season of Discovery plus divided by minus. So like, people that enjoyed Season of Discovery that might be looking for something kinda similar to that, but maybe even a little bit more, well, there we go. This is probably it. It's even faster paced, probably, based on the looks of it, and might appeal to that player base, because a lot of those people don't find Turtle WoW to be super captivating, and many of those people are now enjoying Mist of Pandaria due to the fact that the classes have more buttons to press, things happen faster, there's more content to do, more repeatability. You have like repeating dungeons, like for example Heroic Plus dungeons or Celestials, or even challenge modes, which is something we also have in this server, by the way, like Heroic Dungeons and Mythic Dungeons. This right here might appeal way more to either Mist of Pandaria players, or ex-Season of Discovery players, or simply the current Ascension player base.
Plus, whatever it is, I just think that certain things have no place in Classic Plus, and it's things like that, like the mystic spell enhancements and all this stuff. It becomes too complicated. It becomes retail, and this is what nobody wants to play. This stuff already exists in retail, and if that's what people wanted to play, they would. Now, this is a private server, and Ascension is obviously going to do whatever they want, and I'm sure it'll be popular, right? They put out great products all the time, but I think for an official...
I've been contemplating playing retail again, and I want to see if there's something for me, but I don't know. Try out the Legion remix, coming out in a week. A little bit over a week, but I think next Tuesday for North America, and next Wednesday for Europe. If you want to try out retail, I think the Legion remix is one of the best times to get back into retail. and it's personally when I'm going to get back into retail.
Classic Plus, Blizzard needs to look more towards the Turtle WoW direction, right? The game essentially is vanilla WoW with added content and slight quality of life improvements. Keeps some of that friction that everyone is used to in vanilla WoW, that keeps you playing, that keeps you wanting to log in, that keeps it being like not every class is the best, not every class does this, but there's a reason to bring every class to a raid, there's a reason to bring every class to a dungeon. And it's not super crazy to a point where, you know, you're able to have paladins pull 300 mobs and sit there and tank them and things like that. Because when it gets out of control, like we're looking at here, that's what inevitably ends up happening. And to me, that's extremely immersion breaking. You know, things like Mythic Plus vanilla dungeons, this could be cool. I'd love to see it tested in like a vanilla environment and see how that turns out. But without all the flair, without all the crazy enchants on your spells and Wrath of a Lich King talents and new abilities. And if it gets to a point, right? And I know I want to answer one thing first where people are saying, oh, but this even looks like retail. There is like, they have a toggle in game to use classic models. And I'm showing this because I think this is an amazing feature that a lot of these servers are starting to use. And definitely something Blizzard should look into if they're planning on upgrading the models or the graphics in any way. There should definitely be a toggle to use the updated graphics, whatever they go with, and also keep the classic graphics as well. I think that's super important because there's some people who play the game because they like that classic feel. And then there's other people who want to play the game because they want it to feel new. And that's fine too. But I just can't help but feel like we're getting to a point where this stuff is a little too far, and I wouldn't personally call this a classic plus. I don't think it is a classic plus. I think it's just...
No, but here's the thing though, and I know he's making this video for content, by the way. He doesn't really care. He doesn't give a shit. But this is a private server, and until Blizzard gives us an official Classic Plus basically means one thing. Classic WoW with more stuff. There's a plus there. It's Classic WoW plus, and what that plus is, you don't get to decide. The developer gets to decide. In this case, this right here is Ascension. If you don't like what Ascension is doing, play Epoch. If you don't like what Epoch is doing, play Turtle. If you don't like what any of those three are doing, well, too bad, get fucked, wait for Blizzard. Until Blizzard does something, nobody knows what the plus means. And the plus might even mean different things to different people. This is just a different take on Classic Plus, and it's Ascension's take on Classic Plus. But I know that Hammer, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he's just here doing his thing. Wackabot, yeah, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. Gotta get him, dude. Like, he doesn't care. It's a video made for video purposes, and it's a good video as well. And it's a fair point he's making, by the way. This should not be in Blizzard's Classic Plus, absolutely not. But I don't even think he thinks that. He doesn't even think it, but it's still nice to talk about, I guess.
It looks like just like a retail upgrade to Classic. It's a little bit too much, and I think that it needs to be dialed back. And if and when Blizzard does their own thing, I hope that they realize that as well. I hope they realize that I loved SOD, I enjoyed SOD, and I know a lot of you guys did as well, but if they go down the same route as SOD, it does feel a little gimmicky. The game should still feel very slow-paced. It should keep the same pacing as vanilla, and maybe even have systems in place to slow people down even more, because people play differently now. The game should never have a 200% XP boost or anything like that. It's fine in a seasonal mindset, but when you're talking about a more permanent game mode, I think we really, really, really need to stick to that slower gameplay style. And that's where I keep coming back to the way Turtle WoW did everything. I think that essentially that is the version of Classic Plus that Blizzard should go with. Turtle WoW nailed it. They made the game feel like the old game, with some new content, new additions, and content that really was crafted that fit in the Warcraft, in the vanilla world of Warcraft universe. It feels like the OG Blizzard devs made that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it fit in the world, and it still felt slow. Like, leveling a warrior early on still felt like shit if you didn't have gear. You still died in caves. You know, all of that stuff I think is I think it's extremely important, and people forget that. People see all like new and flashy things, and they just, at this point, everyone's starving for anything new, that they just will take anything that's given to them at this point. And I think that's where you start to create a problem, where you deviate from the path of like what people originally wanted for a Classic Plus. And now we're at this point where basically people just want fucking retail. And I gotta come out and say it. And I will always tell you guys exactly how I feel. And that's what I'm seeing in the community right now. A lot of people, it's...
Was that Hammer Dance getting a world buff, by the way? Because that was not me. It could have been me, but I did not see any, like, countdowns on the screen. If it was me, that was a really sneaky buff, dude. Super sneak.
Started as, like, we just want a little bit of new content in vanilla, and, like, not class balancing, but like make sure every class is viable and like all that, and that makes sense and that sounds good. And it started out as like we want TBC talents, and now we're getting like, people want wrath talents and new abilities and all this crazy AoE, and maybe we should have 4 or 5 classes that could battle res and all this. And it's like, dude, you guys are forgetting this exists. It's called modern WoW, it's called retail, it exists, and you don't want to play it. Why are you trying to make classic the same way? And that's how I feel. And I feel like at this point, I have to start sharing my honest opinions, even if it's not popular with the community, because I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm stepping back and saying, hey, you know what? Like, I do want a Classic Plus, but I want a Classic Plus that's more in line with vanilla. I want it to have new content. I want it to have new features, new systems.
Here's the thing, though. I think we all do. But until then, this is going to be fun to play. This is going to be a fun, different experience while waiting for the other thing. Because I don't think anybody, if you see this Bronzebeard trailer, or I guess Warcraft Reborn trailer, you're not sitting there being like, oh, dude, this is what Classic Plus should always be like, dude. Why can't Blizzard just take notes? Oh, this is the ultimate Classic Plus. No, this just looks cool. This looks cool to play. And it's something else than anything else. And it's something to play while perhaps waiting for Classic Plus to become a thing. I don't think anybody looks at that and is like, this is the optimal Classic Plus experience. This is like what I've always wanted for Classic Plus. No, nobody's thinking that. At least I hope not, and I don't think so either.
Sure, all of that stuff, but the game has to feel like vanilla. It has to still have that slow pace. It still has to have that adventure. It still has to have, a reason why you'd bring this class over this class, because this class does mass amounts of AoE and this one doesn't, so we need it for this specific thing that we're doing. Like, I just feel like once you start getting to a point where there's so many different systems, so many different ways to play your character, so many different ways to upgrade your spells and your gear, we start to lose sight now of what actually made the game special in the first place. Because all of these things, everyone always said that what did people say? In vanilla, that the world was the main character. You were just someone going through that, adventuring through that world. When you have things like this, what this does is kind of puts the focus on you and your character, and you now become the main character. You need to scour the world looking for all these upgrades and improvements and all this stuff, because you don't want to be worse than the other guy who's coming to your raid that's the same class that has all those upgrades and improvements, right? It's no longer about the world. It's about, let me look up all these guides because this stuff's all been found now, and where do I get them? And now you go out and you're not doing shit. You're just going and you're just min-maxing. You're just meta chasing, which is what everyone does, including myself, right? And that's what it will turn into. I think that if Blizzard looked to these private servers for any examples of what they should be doing, I think Turtle WoW had the best example. I know they're being sued by Blizzard right now. I know that, like, it's just a weird time, man. It's a weird time to talk about all this stuff, and it's so incredibly gray. It's such a gray area, but I have to share my opinions and thoughts on this stuff with you guys. I think that we're kind of deviating a little bit from the original vision for Classic Plus from the community, and I think what's happening is people are setting themselves up for a big letdown when we do eventually get a Classic Plus. And I don't think it's Blizzard's fault. I think Blizzard might actually deliver on a good Classic Plus experience. I think they have a good amount of information at this point to put together something that they know players want. But it's one of these things where people are becoming desensitized to less and less stuff here in the game, and they want more and more and more. And we're at a point now where people just are looking at retail WoW and they're like, this is Classic Plus, like, this is good. And it exists. Just go play retail. I'm sorry, I don't know how any other way to say it. I don't have a nice way to say it, but people are starting to get a little bit delusional here. What separated classic and retail is extremely important, and we're kind of going over that line now to a point where we are hitting basically retail territory in classic with some of these classic plus private servers. And I'm very curious, and I want to know like what you guys think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Am I delusional? I don't know, but I still have this original vision for Classic Plus, and my original vision for Classic Plus really does align with what Turtle WoW did with Mysteries of Azeroth or whatever. It keeps the spirit of vanilla alive. It keeps the game feeling like vanilla WoW.
I just realized that I'm like, my face camera is right over his, and he's like looking at the same picture now for about 10 minutes. Let me try to move my face camera for the last 3 minutes here, so we can see what he's saying as well, because I was hoping he would look at a different picture, and I kind of just didn't realize. Let's see if this one brings up the same thing. Yeah, there we go. So we can see him at least for a little bit here, what he's saying. Should probably just have gone full screen here, bro, or something, I don't know.
Just expanded on what was already there. They didn't change the game completely. They added some quality of life. They just built it out in the world, and to me, that is the right way to do it. I don't want to see a million systems and currencies or enhancements and upgrades and all this stuff to your abilities and gear. I don't want it to get like that, because to be honest, Classic WoW is so good because of its simplicity. So I hope Blizzard knows their target audience for this, and when they go and work on this stuff, I really do hope that they follow that same trajectory as Turtle, and really build the game to be a slow pace.
I will say, by the way, I agree with everything he's saying. I don't think, number one, I don't think he cares, because I think it's a video he's making to make a video, even though the statement he's making is a good one. I just think that he doesn't even think that Blizzard is going to look at Ascension and be like, this is Classic Plus. Nobody thinks that. This is Classic Plus, but made for Ascension WoW, by Ascension WoW, and made for the player base of Ascension WoW. They're making it this way because they already have Ascension service, they have the classless thing, they have a Conquest of Azeroth or whatever. They have a bunch of different game modes in Ascension. They're making this based on that. That's why you have so many systems, because these systems, like the Mystic Enchants, is what Season of Discovery was based on, by the way. The runes we have in Season of Discovery was made... That was Project Ascension. That was their thing. Blizzard took that from them. Or like ripped it off, basically. Sure, they stole back what they had stolen way. But you get it. Like, it was a Project Ascension thing before SOD took it from there. And Ascension is obviously making Classic Plus for the Ascension player base. That to me makes complete sense. And in no way, shape or form should Blizzard form their Classic Plus based on that. It is all about listening to the player base that they have. In this case, Blizzard has a different player base than Ascension does.
Paced game, to be a game that makes you want to keep playing through the world. And you know what? There's some stuff that I've seen here in Ascension that I also want to call out, like, oh, you looted this like bind on account epic out in the world, and now you want to make an alt to level with that epic. Like, that's not it. That's retail, in my opinion.
But they already looked at Ascension and did that? No, they looked at Ascension and took one thing, which was the rune system, which they turned into something more classic-like than the one Ascension had, and they never applied the Mystic Enchant, even though Ascension has that, not the prestige system, not the faster leveling, not the bonus experience, not the cash shop. There's a bunch of Ascension systems that was never put into the Season of Discovery. So while I understand what you're trying to say, I'm going to wholeheartedly disagree. They looked at Ascension and took one thing, and retuned it to be more Blizzard-like.
You know, and no disrespect to the Ascension devs, a lot of this stuff is amazing that you've done. But there's certain systems and things that I just personally don't agree with. It's my personal opinion. So anyone watching this, don't take this as a personal attack on you. This is just my opinion. It shouldn't be that way. You should want to go level a new character because in 2 months they came out with a patch that had 2 or 3 new leveling zones and a couple of new dungeons that were pretty epic looking and all that. That should entice you to go level a character. Not the fact that you're out in the world and you found 3 or 4 epics that are bind on account that you could send to a level 1 alt and start one-shotting mobs, and that is not classic to me. I'll die on that hill. I don't believe that should ever be in Classic. That is not Classic Plus. It makes it feel gimmicky. I don't want heirlooms. I don't want XP boosts. I don't want any of that stuff because I want a true raw experience. And if the game is good enough and has enough new content, for anyone who's going to argue, we've already leveled through this a million times, this and that, I get it. I'm the same way with vanilla. But if the game has enough new content and things you want to see while leveling up, that feeling goes away and you're actually enjoying playing the game. And the game isn't about hitting max level at that point. You're just enjoying playing your character, leveling up, seeing all this new content and stuff. So that's it. I just wanted to have this video today, a bit of a rant, because I saw this and I was like, you know what? I got to share how I feel about this. Even if it's a little bit controversial, I know I'm going to get a lot of people that disagree with me and maybe agree with me, but let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from all of you either way. I'm down for open discussion. And if you guys want to talk about it even further, we'll talk about it on stream tonight. You know, we stream Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. over on kick.com/hammerdance. So come support me over there. You get to watch. I don't have ads on or anything. No ads. We'll stream and have a good time. And we'll talk about it. And yeah, I'm just trying to follow through on what I always say. Trying to just give my honest thoughts and opinions, whether you guys like it or not. This is how I feel about it. I'm curious how you guys feel about it. Subscribe to the channel if you love Classic WoW just as much as me. And that's all I've got for you today. So thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.
You know, I like Hammerdance as both a person and a content creator, but I'm just going to say what I feel here. I think this whole video was a nothing burger. And that's just the way I feel, because I feel like Blizzard would never look at the server and even think to make Classic Plus in this way anyway. They're looking at Turtle WoW, man. They already are. They're looking at Turtle WoW and taking most of the Turtle WoW things. They're not looking at Ascension and being like, oh, guys, how can we put TBC and Wrath talents into the game while also putting in retail abilities, while also taking mystic enchantments, heirlooms, leveling up people faster, giving them an experience boost. They're not looking at that, man. And if they are, like, I'm just not going to play. But they're not. Realistically, let's try to be objective here, and they're not. They're really not. Like, nobody's looking at this server right now, not even just Blizzard, but nobody is looking at this and thinking, this is the optimal Classic Plus experience. It is just a different experience, and it's once again, it's Classic Plus made by Ascension for the Ascension player base. And the people outside of the Ascension player base, it's made with Ascension systems in place, so you get more used to playing Ascension, because that way, if you try out a different Ascension server later, you will recognize that system, or those systems, so you are now part of the Ascension ecosystem, kind of. It's a server made by Ascension, man, it's not Blizzard. And they are not going to look at this and be like, oh, let's replicate this, this is so good. My personal take, once again, maybe I'm stupid, it is what it is.